With this record, we're very concerned with a hard backbeat. I won't say a more funky quality, but a more syncopated, raw quality that makes a lot of use of the space between beats as well as the punctuation of the songs. I guess a lot of that was turning up the drums and putting fewer guitars into it. We used to put 8 guitars on a song. 8 guitars would be before the guitar solo, and then 2 more guitars would come in. I think the arrangements of the songs, we're all playing what we play live, even if it's not on the same guitars, or I'm playing on an acoustic guitar instead of an electric guitar. That way we were able to get the songs to sound more like the live band and less like just a concocted kind of production. And that's real important to me at this point, is that I really want to capture, I want the songs to say as much as they can without being too elaborate. And at the same time, I want the production to punch you as much as it can, or take you away into a different place. The more stuff you add, the less stuff you hear. You have 4 guitars, well, you just hear one big chiming guitar, and it kind of sounds muddy. Instead, you put one guitar that really sounds good. You used a great microphone, you put it somewhere really cool, you took a little time making it sound great. That was a lesson I learned from Led Zeppelin and from the Beatles, is that one guitar can go a long way. I used to take a Phil Spector approach, which was that a lot of guitars can go a long way. Now I'm kind of going more for the feeling of the way we sound. On top of just the instrumentation of the band, I tried to add a lot of other little effects. We tried to use the regular rock instruments more sparingly, and then have more of a special sound, so that each song, instead of having everything on every song, each song would have a few things that really stand out. If you're listening hard, you're always going to find new stuff in the record. I've always loved a lot of music. Ever since I was a teenager, I've loved psychedelic music, and then a 60s American kind of acid rock. At the same time, I always really loved R&B since I was probably, 18 or 19. And when I was 19, I played on a riverboat. And as far as that goes, it would be like Sly and the Family Stone and Motown and, the Jackson 5. That was a big influence on me when we were recording this album, too. And that was kind of a new influence, because even though I listened to that stuff when it came out, I was a little kid. Even though I'd be listening to heavy metal, and that stuff would, all mix in, and I loved it. Like Prince, that was one of my favorite albums, 1999, along with AC/DC's Back in Black. I probably bought them the same day. Both of those albums probably equally influenced me. I've been learning how to be an engineer and be a record producer since I was 15. The sounds of the records is something that's real new and fresh to me always when I hear them. The more I learn, the more I can appreciate the old sounds that I've heard. Kind of like learning about some things about music, like harmonies. You go back and listen to music that you liked, and you hear all the stuff that all mushed together in your mind before as just being a song. I guess the other thing that was very conscious with this record, the more R&B sound or the less psychedelic sound, was that we were just trying to do something that I think is more immediate, and at the same time we were trying to do something that wasn't 60s or wasn't retro. I guess looking back to the past is something I can't help but do, and in that way, I would never say I've been retro, but I've always felt a great yearning for the past, even if the past is something that happened yesterday that I liked, it'll never happen again. We weren't trying to make it sound modern, but we just tried to make it sound unique to that song. And in a way it worked kind of strangely, because the album, the songs are real disconnected. There's no thread to the whole album, there's no feel. If you kind of think of albums in that way, I would say this album really didn't really have a whole lot of unity from song to song. I really wanted that. I wanted it to be every song to be self-contained and to be unrelated to the other song. The White Album was probably my goal of a feel for this album. It just feels blank. It's got so many different things going on. The main thing you get from it is that it's diverse. Any song could be the next song. That was the inspiration, I think, for our record in that way, was that, listening to the radio, listening to college radio, listening to R&B oldies and just oldies radio, and just the way on radio the songs are all unrelated, but they're great. On our other records, we always had the songs run together. On this record, we left big spaces between all the songs, so you have a place to put your needle down on the record.